Show. Featuring positive impact heroes, everyday people. And now, your host of the show, JWS the Protege. And welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show today. Positive impact hero number 7, David Patterson. Very, very unique individual that I met. Very powerful organization that he's running up there in New York City. We're going to get to know him tonight. But I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in to the past shows, and hope you like what we have going here. And if you do, help us spread the word. It always helps word of mouth, probably better than anything else. But what we promote here is the local, grassroots heroes that are in your backyard every day, working hard, nose to the grind, no accolades, doesn't want the accolades, just wants the end result. And that's what we're all here for, is to make a better place to live on this planet. And it starts with the youngsters. That being said, Protege, not here right now, so we're going to try to slide right into the show, and hopefully he'll join us here shortly. And when he does, we'll take that small break and see how he's doing. Other than that, pretty busy week for me, work-wise and otherwise, coaching and youth-wise. My partner had a allergic reaction to anesthesia. He had a little surgery during the week and had a scare with us all. So be careful out there, folks. You just never know. Hug your loved ones and tell them you love them even more every day. All right. Well, let's get back to setting up the show here for Positive Impact Hero number 7, David Patterson. He is the owner of the Pioneer Football League in New York City. The Pioneer Football League consists of 22 organizations and affiliates that provide structured opportunities and events for more than 1,000 children and young adults in New York City metropolitan area. His background in football and education provide the backbone for the success of the league, which has been recognized by the National Football League as one of the top 500 programs in the nation. It's good stuff, folks. That's why he's here tonight. Trust me, he's going to take this organization even higher. But Patterson grew up in Princeton, New Jersey, played football at West Windsor, Plainsboro High School, and then Lafayette College. He is a New York City teacher in the Bronx and uses his experience in education and football as a platform to help young people achieve success both on and off the gridiron. And again, as you will see, the common denominator in this show is precisely that. We use these sports as a catalyst because it gains their interest, and they need it anyways, no matter what it is, whether they're playing kickball, softball, whatever it is. If it isn't football, as long as they're active, because we see what happens when we allow generations not to exercise through school and extracurricular activities. So let's go ahead and bring David on the show right now.
I'm muted.
And David, are you there, sir?
I am. How are we doing today?
I'm doing great, sir. I want to welcome you and thank you for making the time on a Sunday night. I know sometimes the hour can be a guess, so I think interesting for.
Not a problem. My pleasure.
All right. Well, I don't know if you heard, but the intro, I just read the small bio that we had there, and we're going to get a little bit deeper into that. But for the most part, let's go ahead and start there and give the folks a little broader idea what really we're talking about when we say Pioneer Football League in New York City.
Well, we essentially are a network of community-based organizations that use football as the catalyst to do really positive things in our community. And the things that we've been doing center around using, again, athletics as a catalyst or a vehicle to get these young people interested in other things besides just actually playing the game, and understanding that through college and career readiness tactics that football can be their way to get out of certain challenging uh, circumstances.
No, and that's exactly what we need more of these, and I'm sure that there's many more probably wanted throughout the city and other organizations like this. Um, and the age range is from 5 to 18 primarily in the youth organization, correct?
Correct. We have in the Pioneer Football League itself. We start around 5 years old. We have an 8 and under league, and five, sixes, and sevens usually play in our 8 and under summer program, which is a shortened season, and it's really it's a lot of fun actually because they play in one particular site, and all the games are at one particular site. We call it the Sunshine Bowl, and it's a real good way to allow us to spend our summer kind of together and not put burden on organizations to operate separate 8 and under programs during the course of the fall. Then in the fall we run a 10 and under, 12 and under, 14 and under, and 18 and under programs that go through a traditional schedule in the fall. And we also have as well three minor league programs that we directly deal with, and three other Pioneer Football League affiliates that are, basically like family members to us, although they operate on their own.
Okay, that's awesome, and that's a great introduction because we're going to get more into that later. And I know we spoke about a week or two ago, and I told you I had a guest on earlier that is directly involved with amateur football as well down here. And I hope you had the time to get in to listen to that show, because I'm sure you're gonna you're gonna reiterate almost a lot of what he was saying in that same regard. And so from that platform, you would probably catch the kids from 18 on up, correct?
Correct. We essentially have multiple entry points because of the challenges that New York provides. I mean, New York does not get a lot of respect for football in general, let alone high
I
school
bet.
and the college ranks. And funny enough, we have ASA Junior College. Actually, a couple of our alumni have gone through ASA Junior College, and that has been we've seen that program go from a startup program to a nationally recognized program that's directed right out of Brooklyn, New York. So there's a lot of talent up here. There's a lot of ability, but we just need to find multiple entry points so that we're at whatever point they got off of the path, so to speak, we can get them back on and onto the right track.
And that's we'll get more into that too as we go along. So, so as we kind of little intro here to the Pioneer of what it entails, indulge a little bit deeper. But right now, let's take a little trip back, and let's go back to what David Patterson as a kid. What interested you? Were you a football player right from the start? 5 years old, 7 years old, that kind of thing.
Well, the funny thing is, my dad would not let me play youth football. My dad played football for the
Really?
Washington Redskins. He was actually
Oh wow.
Vince Lombardi's one of Vince Lombardi's last draft picks. He was a 13th round selection out of Lawrence University, and when he again growing up in a household where your dad played for Vince Lombardi in itself presents a little bit of a challenge. I have an older brother, Derek, who is just a year and a half older than I am, so he played football as well. But to tell you the truth, he had genuine concerns even before this whole thing about the dangers of youth football or what have you, and wouldn't let me
Right.
play. And to tell you the truth, the reason why he didn't let me play is because he didn't want me just want to play. He wanted to make sure that I really wanted to do it, as opposed to my dad did it, and that's the reason why I'm doing it. So I ended up
Right. Right.
starting organized football, although I was a huge football fan basically from birth on up. And although I studied the game, did not play full fledged contact football until high school.
Oh, well, that happens quite a bit, because of, like you said, various reasons, either with parents or just, like me, I moved around a lot. I was able to play a lot of sports until that junior high, mid junior high to high school, and then my parents moved around. So, like you said, there's a lot of reasons that kids, fall out of the gaps. But that's great that you gave it a try and then found a passion for it and carried it on to college. Correct? Did you play in college?
Indeed. Played at Lafayette College, got injured in '99. So the funny thing is, even after getting injured, one of the things I really had to adapt to is life as a student non-athlete. So after
Right.
struggling with that and trying to find my identity as something other than a football player in school, I took on a passion for other things, including teaching and government and law, which now I'm actually a history teacher in the Bronx at the William Garrison School right by Yankee Stadium.
Awesome, awesome, and that's why we see a lot of those pictures right there from the field. But well, that's a great story. Because like you say, starting that late, and then going into college and getting hurt, with the dreams of, again, your dad played for Vince Lombardi, and you kind of maybe had that thought going that all right, I'm on my way, and then boom,
Indeed.
Plan B has to kick in.
Well, I mean, there's a couple things at play, and that experience definitely made me prepared to be able to mentor young people on these exact same issues. And the first thing, the difference between New Jersey and where I grew up in New York is and it's not necessarily just a geographic thing, more of just a sign of the times. Is this sports specialization where a
Right.
kid is a football player, 12 months out of the year, as opposed to, hey, it's basketball season, it's baseball season, and then it's
Right.
football season. So I encourage my students all the way up, and also my football players, hey, look, football is for the fall. Football is not for all year round. And we never had spring football growing up, and here's this new where you're a particular player and you don't do other sports, besides the medical people saying that it causes injuries more at a higher rate, is it just doesn't make them better football players. It may make them better athletes and faster or what have you, but it definitely doesn't. One of the best decisions that I made as a young player was to do wrestling in middle school and early on in high school, because it helped me with the hand-eye coordination and the hand-to-hand combat that is necessary to play the game of football on a high level. And a lot of the kids now, they just don't have that.
How is the wrestling programs up there this day and age? Are they still in existence?
New Jersey is still has one of the top programs in terms of wrestling, and produces an atmosphere where wrestling is definitely one of the top sports or what have you. When it comes down to New York City, you see very, very rare do you see wrestling programs. It's not one of the more expensive sports, but cost
Right.
is
Right.
associated with it. But New York has this obsession with basketball and soccer at this particular point, which
Of
makes
course.
even football. I'd never seen, and again, part of the reason why we've developed our older programs the way that we did is because there are a lot of high school programs that don't provide a true football experience for these kids, and are
Right.
underfunded, underdeveloped, and
Sure.
it's a problem. I've never, until coming to New York City, I've never been to a high school football game that didn't have an announcer, a working scoreboard, some cheerleaders, a marching band,
Right.
and you come out here and you're playing, and it's like it's a golf crowd. You have 20 people in the stands, and it's really quiet. But ultimately, that was one of the initiatives that we put forth with the Pioneer Football League, and some of our 18 and under programs not only play very competitive football, they play in front of really big crowds, and they are very successful. We actually put more kids in colleges out of our 18U programs than some of the high schools around here. So, when we started this thing, we said, well, we want to make sure that we craft our product so that kids in New York City that go to high schools that don't have football, we could address those needs, because we didn't want players that were running away from eligibility issues or what have you. What it turned
Right.
into is that we have some really quality football programs that produce quality football players that not only their like rival high schools want, but they are getting into college at a rate that I can no longer sit here and really say with confidence, hey, look, you have a better shot at playing college football by playing in your particular high school division than you do in a
Right.
Pioneer Football League team. We had a couple of kids go Division 1. We have the Bronx Buccaneers send a kid to Central Michigan. Bronx Colts sent
Right.
kids to Howard University, UTEP. We have a ton of kids in D2s, D3s, a lot of, again, quality programs, all the way from Brooklyn all the way through the Bronx. And a lot of these kids went to schools that don't have football. So that was our
Right.
original aim, although, again, that's starting to be an issue that we're tackling now, as to how do we deal with the fact that we can service kids sometimes just as good as these high schools. So part of it is getting the grades checked out and making sure that, hey, if we're providing quality football for these kids, we still have to make sure that their grades are there. Otherwise, they're not going to get into school anyway.
Yeah, exactly, and that's again the catalyst to get them there and pursue that higher education or that higher purpose of what they want to do in life. It may again, it's great that you brought up that Division 2, because I say it a lot of the times with the kids that I coach. I say, listen, you don't always have to think the D1. I can guarantee that almost 90% of you can get into a D2 college on a scholarship.
Indeed.
So don't always think about the D1 right off the bat. Get where you can and move forward.
Yeah, and there's a major deficiency in the advisor roles in high schools. That's one of the positions that were cut with
Right.
budget funding and what have you. And we've seen kids that have grades that are really solid that just literally fall by the wayside because there's nobody sitting there telling them, "Hey, look, you have the grades to go somewhere on. You just need to fill out this FAFSA, pass the clearing." I mean, we've dealt with issues even to kids not even knowing what the clearinghouse is because they don't have anybody at their high school that would even tell them about it. So, when you're dealing with
Right.
those type of challenges, it's definitely really tough because your main product is football. So, that's where we're going with it.
Well, it's ironic because I wish Jason was here, the protege, because he's doing just part of that. He's kind of expanded what he does, and he is now kind of overseeing, him and his staff will oversee the process to get these kids into college. The whole process all the way through the recruiting stage. So I think that's something that you guys would definitely love to be talking about right now, because it's something that he's passionate about, as well. Down here, we talked about it a little bit, a couple weeks ago when you were down here, how competitive it is. And I can tell you right now, it's just as competitive recruiting these kids before they even get to high school. It's
Right.
that serious.
Yeah, I mean, but for the majority of the kids, they're not getting recruited. And the problem is the majority of the kids think that if they're not by the seventh grade having a college coach, knocking on their door, that they have to,
Right.
go full speed to try to, fit square peg into
Impress them.
round hole,
Yep.
speak, so to speak. So, that in
Yep.
itself is another challenge, because you have to explain to these kids, hey, look, there's a college for everybody out there, and we've had some of our most successful kids go to colleges that you never heard of and play. I mean, we had a kid play at MetLife Stadium that went to Benedict College. We had a couple kids from our Brooklyn teams, former Brooklyn Rough Riders players, who at this particular point is being considered possibly could end up in an NFL camp somewhere. That went to Bethany College, a guy by the name of John Rios. So Jay Rios, I'm sorry. And again, there's a slew of talent that when just picking up the phone and making a phone call somewhere out in Kansas or Missouri or Texas, that there are these Division twos and Division threes that'll take these not only take these kids, but the kid gets out of the neighborhood and is able to focus and have a true college experience. And you know, once they graduate, they have that degree to work off of, regardless if they're getting paid to play football. Because I
Right.
mean, we've dealt with. We actually had a young man that was in an NFL camp, made actually had signed to the Detroit Lions. Guy by the name of Stephon Green, who my wife,
Nice.
who is the
Yeah.
league attorney, she was working with, and my brother-in-law Kyle, who works with some NFL athletes or what have you, and we saw how this kid played at Penn State and had real deal footage and film from Penn State and had the hardest time making a roster. It was an absolute siege. So to see him
Right.
go through it and then have a guy sit there and try to tell you, he's not played on his high school roster, can't make his college roster, but he thinks he's going to get paid to play football. It's very tough, kind of maneuvering them in a situation like, hey, look, I'm not going to tell you no, but you need to get your degree, and this is the path to do it. If you manage to get to the NFL, the CFL, or manage to have anybody pay you to play football along the way, so be it. But make sure you get your degree.
Yeah, always have that something back to fall on, because even all these NBA guys you look at, or even the NFL guys. I mean, they all have businesses of some sort or investments for that money working behind them. And if you're paying somebody else to do it, most likely,
Indeed.
somewhere along the line, you're going to get hustled. I mean, just about every rock star has been hustled out of money. I just heard about somebody else the other day getting hustled out of some bunch of money from their accountant. So even a CPA that you would think is trustable, they can rob you too. So
Indeed.
I advise, and some of the greatest rock stars in the business have advised, know your math.
Absolutely.
Take
Absolutely.
care of your own money.
And one of the things that we've been doing with our replication process, so to speak, is one of our adult teams. We call it collegiate development. So for our guys that are 18 to 24, that's really the target age that we develop our collegiate level for. We have one of our former players that is actually in ownership of that particular product. So we have a young man that started out as a player. He learned how to coach, and now he's learning how to own. And the kid is 23 years old. So the steps that he takes in terms of managing the books and organizing and working with people, that type of thing is absolutely priceless. So that he could put that on a resume, and when he puts it
Yep.
on a resume and it's backed by the Pioneer Football League. Once we get the call, and we write letters of recommendation all the time for these kids. We've had kids to have high school and college credit based on the work they've done in the Pioneer Football League. What better way to apply to a business school than to say that I've actually ran a business before?
Exactly, and a successful one.
Indeed, indeed.
I mean, it is what we're here. Excuse me, as what we're here for. And this is what a lot of us dream about too, is putting these kids to the next level that didn't have a chance, per se, by whatever the circumstances is irrelevant. If they didn't have a fair shot, or if they didn't have the support to get there in the first place, I mean, you can't just give up on them, and that's what's happening right now.
Indeed.
Too many people give up on these young people, and then once they feel that there's no one there to support them, I mean, what's left to turn? I mean,
Indeed.
you have to have a special mindset to turn it around, and like last week we talked about a lot of this. Sometimes you have to take a negative in order to fuel you to become better or positive direction. It's not always, being fueled by the positive people. Sometimes it takes a negative influence to turn you to not want to be that way or something. So,
Indeed.
all right. right, let's take a quick break here, and we'll come back and we'll talk some more with David Patterson, Positive Impact Hero number 7. We'll talk some more Pioneer Football League. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the show, everybody. Positive Impact Hero number 7, David Patterson, owner of the Pioneer Football League. Pioneer Football League from 5 to 18, but doesn't even stop there. Goes on to 18 and up, semi-pro, which is kind of a little bit what we were starting to get into, and we'll touch back on that right now. It's one of my previous guests, DeBarris James. He's the owner of a football team down here, and he really, goes after that huge demographic of 18 to 27, 28-year-old males that dropped out of high school, dropped out of, or maybe not even just dropped out, but just had to go because of whatever circumstance. Getting them back in to get high school accreditation and getting them some SAT scores and getting them back into college. So that's exactly what your whole program up there and your adult program is. That what I'm getting with that too?
Correct. The program is designed for, again, guys that have lost their way, maybe had issues academically, maybe had issues, just life happened to them, wasn't able to go away to school or couldn't pay for school or what have you. And we actually have developed products to transition guys back into school. So for a majority of our guys that end up playing on college rosters, it was more of they had the grades to get in, but they really weren't skilled enough when it comes to the X's and O's and understanding the game, being students of the game, because they've come from football programs or high school programs that really did not prepare them for the college game correctly. So we've actually had some kids that graduate in June, and then they'll take a season with us from like June up until August or so, and then in that particular fall be on a college roster.
And that's almost exactly, not exactly, but that's what the other day DeBarris was talking about as well. And that's that's work that is just, again, you just don't hear a ton of it. I set up the show with him by talking about if you were to overhear a conversation between two guys talking about amateur football, you would not get the gist of what those programs are about. You would just go about your business and not think one bit about exactly what they're doing at that grassroots level. You would just assume that, it's a bunch of guys that,
playing football,
just like pick up basketball. Oh, yeah, they're just out there having fun playing football. Indeed. That's not the case.
Well, that's why we've really been focused on how our product looks in the media end of our product. So as you'll see if you go to our website, pioneer-league.com, you'll see how our product looks. And we take the look of our product very serious. We have the football, we have the X's and O's, but we play at some of the best facilities that you'll see, especially in the New York area. We're properly uniformed. Everything is color matched. Everything in terms of the equipment is up to date. The reason being is because when we send a letter of reference or a recommendation, or we have a player that has a shot to make a college roster, that coach is getting a certain impression of where he's coming from, and it opens the door for the players behind that first one to get into that particular situation for the better. So for example, if we send a coach some film and the players are in different color helmets and their uniforms don't match and they're playing on a mud field that doesn't have lines on it, the coach is more likely going to say, well, this is just pickup football, or what we refer to up here as sandlot football. And I could tell you with the Pioneer Football League, it's definitely not sandlot, because we're playing on, at this particular point, $7 million fields, in field turf facilities. We had our championship game at a $52 million facility at MCU Park in Brooklyn, where the Brooklyn Bolts and Brooklyn Cyclones play. So, with the budgets that we're going through at this particular point, labeling it sandlot football or looking like a pickup game is just not an option. Which is why we actually got a sponsorship from the New York Jets, thanks to one of our connections, Karim from the MHC Green Wave. One of the owners of our teams in our league is the owner of a nonprofit that is solely based on making kids healthy and to combat
Right on.
childhood obesity. And through his connection, we were introduced to the New York Jets. That provided the avenue to get a $15,000 award or sponsorship, and just based on our media and just based on the way that we presented ourselves, just to get our foot in the door, just like on a player level, we're doing the same exact thing. So because that particular owner opened up a relationship, we went from a $15,000 sponsorship, we turned it into a $150,000 sponsorship,
Wow.
because they see exactly how we do business. We're very transparent. All of our economics are transparent. I know you guys have seen the 60 Minutes reports about what some of the youth football leagues, do and what have you. And ultimately, that's why it was a priority of mine to make sure that we're as transparent as humanly possible. So whatever we do in terms of mistakes, to everything that we do in terms of successes, is very public. And the reason why is because, ultimately what pays my bills is the New York City Board of Education as a teacher. And everybody that you'll see in the Pioneer Football League, none of them are taking a salary. And it's because this
Right.
is everybody's donation of time, which is, for us, what it's about.
Well, it's priceless, and that's what I say. The people that give their time. We talk about this quite a bit on the show about the assistants, because we ask people to step up and volunteer and help change kids' lives. And it's not just kids anymore; it's even young adults that didn't have a proper positive role model growing up, so to speak. And there's people that make a career out of being assistants. You don't always have to be the head coach. You don't always have to be the leader. You can be the person that supports the leader. We need many people to support us. And I just seen on the site that you had the other day, you just updated the whole board, the board of directors and trustees and everything. Correct?
Indeed, absolutely. Just surrounding ourselves with people that are willing to put in the work, that really want to do well by these kids. So yeah, we have a solid staff. Our president, we call him Coach Richard Hernandez. He's a guy, an advocate for these young people. We even have all the way down to a players union rep, a players union president, Miss
Awesome.
Marisol. Yeah, and ultimately, especially I mean, we service a majority of our kids are from, which is around the poorest per capita school district in the nation, in District 7 in the
Right.
Bronx. So a lot of our
Right.
issues stem not just from the kids at this particular point being from a severe disadvantaged area. We have their parents that may have challenges in understanding exactly what it takes, to put their kid in such a program, and even down to our bylaws and our rules. We take that for granted that just because you put bylaws out there and rules out there, that parents are going to automatically be on the same page, and that's not always the case at all. So we have a
Exactly.
yeah, so we have a players union president who her job is to be an advocate for the kids and for the parents. So if there is an issue,
Then,
whether it be finances when it comes to the team, whether it be for,
sure.
if we have to suspend a kid or what have you, at least they feel as though there's a process to it, and they're heard, and they have somebody that understands their point of view, and that will be, sort of their lawyer or their representation in,
Right.
moving forward. So something like that, that again, it's absolutely huge, and I'm not aware of any other league that does it.
Not at the youth level. I know there's a couple. Well, at least one of the amateur league does something like that down
Right.
here as well. Um, may not be identical, but it's they do have a representative, uh, but not at the youth level. If you
Indeed.
do that at the youth level, that's even better.
Indeed. Because we take for granted,
Because
just because they're a parent does not necessarily mean that they can read a contract. Doesn't necessarily mean that, and to tell you the truth, we've had, at our events, not just the development of the players, but the development of the parents. And this week I'm going
Right.
to Indianapolis for the NFL Youth Conference, and one of the main points of emphasis that we got last year that I received was by speaking with the wife of Mike Golick, and how the dynamic between them and having their kids playing football, and just the conversation that they had between the two of them in the presentation that they had at the NFL Youth Conference last year made me realize that the main point of emphasis for last year was making sure that mom is good with football, and making sure that mom is knowledgeable and mom supports it, because especially in high risk areas or high need areas where mom is often mom and dad.
That's all I got. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need to make sure that mom knows exactly what's going on and that mom's good with the process. So we spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, and and some of our sponsorship money in order to get mom on board with football, which included a mom's clinic at the Jets practice facility in Florham Park. We did a number of events that really included women in the process, and also we even recruited women coaches. That was one of our big initiatives as well.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And at this particular point, we have half of our executive board are women. 5 out of the 10 sitting members on our executive board are women. So it was a main point of emphasis, again, just learning and getting better. And that was one of the things that we definitely took away from last year.
Yeah, and I can tell you, every year for the past 3 years, I incur more conversations with moms about safety than by far with dads.
Indeed.
Dads, yeah, I mean, we're men. We already know the risks. You know,
And not only that, I mean, there's people. A lot of women don't feel comfortable having those conversations with men because they feel as though,
exactly.
oh, well, there's a certain dynamic. But we have a bunch of qualified women, Miss Tasha Harris Andrews, my wife Melissa Patterson. We have like literally Miss Goya from the Bronx Colts, Miss Lakeisha from the Harlem Jets, who are all qualified to speak on the legitimate issues when it comes to player safety, and more importantly, they can speak on how to operate the game in as safe a manner as possible. Football is not going to be an absolute safe game, but again, there's very few sports that are. Even you see Tiger Woods
Right.
has injuries or what
Right.
have you. But
Back
just to
surgery. Yeah. I mean, come on.
but just to have women that are knowledgeable that can explain to a mom that just signed up, hey, look, this is what it is. That breaks down a lot of barriers for us and allows us to operate in a much better manner.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's detrimental to every program out there to recruit more mothers because again, I grew up in a single mother household, and it's just the whole thing has gotten way out of control now.
Mm-hmm.
It's higher probably now than it ever has been, the single mother rate, and so therefore they need this.
Indeed. So you're not going to sell mom with really fly jerseys, and you're not going to sell mom with cool tinted visors and stuff like that. You're going to sell mom with her baby's going to be safe, and and at the same time,
checking out the helmets now.
Indeed, but at the same time,
numbers.
what we've seen is the women in our programs, in terms of turnkeying and directing others, they're more efficient than a lot of the men are. And unfortunately, a lot of the ills that have plagued youth football, and even up to an amateur level football as well in terms of adults, is the casual coach, the coach that doesn't want to really learn the craft. They're the Madden player, and he thinks that essentially his team is like playing John Madden football, and doesn't realize that there's some real risks associated with, and electronic players, they don't actually get hurt, and there's no reset button when it comes to real life, so you can't undo the damage that you've done based on being not prepared or what have you. So what you see out of the women in our programs is that if there is a coach that is not abiding by heads up football safety standards, they'll say something immediately, and they don't feel as though they're in a man's world, or they don't feel as though they're
Right.
so timid to say, well, I guess he's right, because it's not really my place to say. No, because we prepared the women in our program with the moms clinic and such, so they could say, no, 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 the New York Jet. I mean, you're not going to argue with me. What you're doing right now by not following what I'm saying is you're arguing with the National Football League, and that
Right.
causes
Yep.
the conversation to go in the direction it needs to go, because ultimately the player safety is priority number one.
Yeah, the player safety coach overrides the head coach,
Indeed.
in every sense of the aspect of ranking officials when it comes to in our organization. So
Absolutely.
the player safety coach who has been trained by USA Football and the NFL has the ability to make sure this coach is like you said is doing their job, because we can't watch everybody. I can't do it all, and these people are important. They're very important to the organization, because again, like you were saying with the football, I have yet to play a video football game that has a helicopter life flighting the player off the field.
Absolutely.
Your life will change the day a helicopter lands on. I don't care if it's your player or not. As a coach, your life will change when a helicopter has to land on your football field to carry a kid off.
Indeed.
I'm telling you, there's no feeling to describe it. I don't know if it's your kid or not. You feel the pain, and you feel what we all know. But as coaches, we do our best. I tell every mom, I just had to do it. Again with a couple that signed up for flag football. Oh, well, they want to play tackle football. Well, this is a great way to start, because
Absolutely.
It's a tough job to try to teach these kids that have never played, especially the ones that are teenagers that come into the organization that have never played. Those are the toughest challenge, because that's where the hitting starts to get real.
Right. Indeed.
7, 8, 9, 10 years old, they're not popping like they are in 14, 15, 16 years old.
Indeed. So
they're making
one of the things that we did from the start was we're unlimited weight, and a lot of our, again, when you talk about communication, when we started out this thing, the one debate that we were constantly having is, well, how come that kid is so big? And I tell them, and we have New York State state ID system. So in order for you to register with the Pioneer Football League, you have to register with the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles. So here, it's foolproof. So we eliminate a lot of the issues with ineligible players or what have you, because the main concern.
The birth certificate.
Yeah, so I mean, with like birth certificates, doesn't have the kid's image or his picture on it or what have you. So you get
Right.
a lot of debates and a lot of issues that you really don't need. With us, it's New York State ID, and if you are gonna lie to the state of New York, good luck to you. If you lie to the government,
Good luck.
yeah, you'll lie on a birth certificate, but you're not going to lie to the government. So we've eliminated a lot of people playing in spots that they're not supposed to be or what have you, because our main concern is not the kid that grew a little bit too fast, or who just hit a growth spurt at an earlier time than everybody else. Our main concern is the speed, and when you have older kids playing with younger kids, and that's what often happens with the leagues that have these weight limits. And a lot of parents, they don't understand that. They see the kids, and it looks better aesthetically when they're all standing there and they're all the same size. But ultimately, when you have kids that are 2, 3 years apart, now 3, 4 years apart in age, well,
Right.
that presents the bigger problem, because speed actually is a catalyst for more injuries than sheer weight. I'd rather have a kid, 30 pounds heavier than me fall on me than a kid going at a high rate of speed knocking into me. So once we explain to that, and once the moms kind of understand that dynamic, most of them agree.
Yeah, no, but the beat goes on. I had a kid a couple years ago. I was coaching 13 and older. I had an 11-year-old approach me and his father because the kid weighed 245 pounds.
Indeed.
Our limit was 165.
Ah.
the father was very insistent that he could get his 11-year-old son from 245 to 165. I said, even if you could, I wouldn't even suggest it or recommend it. It's not healthy. It's not
Nah,
going to
not at
happen.
all. Yeah, we don't even down to getting the kids out there on the scale. Some of them they strip down butt naked to try to make weight, and I mean you
Yeah,
even hear
that's
the horror
crazy.
stories. We were talking about wrestling before. You know, wrestling took a huge hit when you had kids literally on these crash diets trying to make weight.
Yeah,
passing away, and it's absolutely tragic. Totally unnecessary.
when I grew up, that's the way it was. In the 70s and the
Hmm.
80s, it was wrestling was horrible.
Oh yeah,
The guys, they were tortured. They
yeah,
were tortured worse than the football. Nobody, I never heard a guy from football going, "Yeah, my coach has got to, I got to lose 15 pounds in 3 days." You got to
right.
do what?
Indeed, indeed.
So the wrestling down here has kind of faded away. It's some of these optimist groups, that like yourself that are associated with football have started these wrestling, uh, clinics and whatnot, and actually getting them into. I think I believe it's AAU competitions around the state down here. AAU supplies a lot of sports down here that just they're not in the schools down here. So
Right.
they're a great organization. They actually have a football league too. I'm not sure how big it is, but they have a
Hmm.
football league. So, but yeah, we have a big challenge with moms down here, and that's why we really try to recruit more and more because again, we're not uh, male only oriented. We're just male. It seems that way because that's usually who gets the dad is the ultimate one who does the volunteer. But I can tell you down here, the team moms for the football organizations are just absolutely amazing. They cook, they take care of these boys. It's family. It really is. It's amazing to see how all these teams pull together during the season, and the moms, cradle these boys and make it a family.
Indeed.
All right, let's take another quick break, and we'll come back to Positive Impact Hero number 7, David Patterson, and the Positive Impact Radio Show. I want to kind of go back a little bit and touch on what made you start up the Pioneer Football League. Was it like a lot of us that to start our own organizations, you were just tired of seeing failed products over and over?
Good question. It's funny. I had never heard of amateur football or semi-pro football before coming to New York, and when God, this is back in '05. I just happened to be looking online and saw that there was a minor league team called the New York Bandits that was in the northern area of the Bronx. So I went to check them out, not to play, not to coach, just more of a hey, look, I do At the time, I was into the field of marketing, so I was interested in possibly doing like sponsorship work or stuff like that. So as I
Right
went
now.
to the practice and I saw exactly how the brotherhood was, and the guys were such a close knit group. Shortly thereafter, I decided that I would volunteer some time and coach on the team. So my dear friend, good friend Billy Batson, kind of mentored me in the coaching realm and got me started. And from there, I've coached on the high school level throughout the whole time. Still coaching on the Bandits. Um, the New York Bandits. We've played games in Puerto Rico, San Diego, up and down the East Coast. Have had a great time. I've had, actually, when I got married, there were bandits at my wedding, birth of my my,
Awesome.
uh, my son. Bandits, first ones at the hospital. So it was that brotherhood that really got me really into the field of football in general in the area. And from there, my specialty was kind of like the 18 and up collegiate and high school level or what have you. And then I partnered up with two of current Pioneer League owners, Coach Leroy Freeman from the Bronx Colts and Coach Sean Godbold of the Bronx Steelers. And their expertise was with the younger guys. So we kind of combined forces and it kind of gave birth to the Pioneer League. the whole time with the New York Bandits. We actually came up with a subsidiary of the New York Bandits, like a prep team for the semi-pro team, because we found is a lot of kids struggled getting from the high school teams to the semi-pro teams. So I developed
Right.
the New York Spartans, which was our first collegiate level team or what have you. And from that particular team, two of my standout players, Charles Hutchinson and Sean Kelman, now are the owners and operators of the Bronx Colts minor league football team, and they operate their own team now, and that's one of the products that is a Pioneer League affiliate or what have you. So every time we kind of expand and turnkey a lot of what we're doing, it comes right back and grows the family, so to speak.
And that's awesome. I mean, how much better could it get? And that's whole kind of what that me and DeBarris were talking about earlier is that mentorship. I was, and he last year just started getting his guys involved retro, going to some of these youth organizations and helping out coaching and doing some of that in their off time and off season. And you'll be surprised to see how much they grow as individuals and mature when they're mentoring 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 year olds,
Right.
12,
So
13.
some of our best coaches were former players on the high school and college level, and now we're like kind of two generations in, where we have some of our bright young coaches. Jay Carter, one of our guys who played in our collegiate development program, he coaches at Christ the King as a high school coach. Golly, in our first generation, we've had Rashid Darasaw, who played on the New York Spartans. He coached at ASA and now is over coaching big time football in New Jersey on a high school level. Harry Irizarry, he's over at Globe Institute. So kind of like our fraternity has grown and grown and grown, and each of these guys, some of them have gone outside the family and have achieved success that way. And it's funny that like wherever it is that you go, there's like this New York Bandit connection and this Pioneer connection. And again, it all started with that original friendship and the original meeting between me and my good friend Billy Batson. And it's so funny. I mean, you guys are down in Florida. Me and the family, we took a road trip down to Kissimmee, Florida, and my car broke down literally, I think, 30 miles outside of Daytona. And my good friend Jose Tavares, who was a bandit that entered, well, when I entered the bandits, one of my very good friends, and he even turned me on to the process of getting my teaching certificates and being able to teach in the New York City public schools. As soon as I broke down, picked up the phone, Jose was on the phone, and he had a connection to get the car repaired, and I was back on my way. So again, it's just about like the connection and the networking. It's absolutely priceless, and a lot of these kids, I don't even think they really understand the value of it until time and time
Right.
again when they run into a jam or they need a little bit of a boost. They know who they can call, and I just tell them when they say, well, how much will it cost, or what can I do in order to get this? I say, hey, just pay it forward to the next
Exactly.
guy behind you. Just pay it forward, and that's good enough for me.
I talk about it a lot. I went through a program in basketball when I was young, and we mentored. Every the older we got, when we were in seventh grade, we were coaching and mentoring like fifth graders.
Hmm.
And by the time we were ninth graders, we were expected to be ref in that league.
Right,
So
absolutely.
we progressed, and then by the time we were seniors and all that stuff, that we had already experienced all that stuff. We had a better mentality, and as you can see, what's happening in today's day and age with officials being attacked at every level. We something's been lost along the way. I mean,
Yeah, it's the old adage that once you come into a company, regardless if you're the CEO or in the top level executive, you need to see how everybody in the company works. You have to go to each station and see and do that job in order to fully understand. And it's funny, like one of our proteges in this thing in the Pioneer Football League, Shamel Jackson. We've tried him out at different spots in different areas. He's found his success coaching with the Bronx Buccaneers, one of our pioneer programs, and it kind of like took him a while to figure out what he really wanted to do. But just moving him around and seeing, hey, look, give this a try. We have a referee development program that some of our former players have got in, and it's so funny. Like even when I go to a game now, some of my adult games, which I'll sometimes get on the sidelines and do some coaching myself for our outside of league games, whether it's an all star game or one of our adult games or what have you, and I'll bump into a player that played for me that's wearing the stripes. So when you talk about all those issues or what have you, when they've gone to every
And those
single
missed
station of
calls or not missed calls.
yeah, once they go to every station, so to speak, when they've been in those shoes before, it's much easier to respect the position. It's so funny that I was mentioning the president of the Pioneer League, Coach Rick. When Rick first got involved in the Pioneer League on an executive level, we actually were at an All Star game, and one of the officials for the All Star game didn't show up, so we put Rick in for as an official, and Rick was one of the most golly the most colorful critics of officials that we've had, and it was so funny to see his aha moment when the ball gets thrown over his head, and this is in a 12-year-old game, by the way. This wasn't even like one of our full speed, big boy games.
Adult games, right?
Yeah, so the ball gets thrown and it gets thrown over his head. The kid behind Rick catches the ball, and Rick didn't even see the play. Rick is faced the opposite direction, and all you see is him spinning around trying to get his equilibrium back. And then he throws his hands up and hollers touchdown. And I'm not even sure if he realized if the ball was caught, not called, or if the ball was in the end zone or even anywhere in the
Where it was.
stadium. Yeah. So at that point, he came over to me and said, "Hey, look, man, I really got to get involved in this thing, but I want to get involved the right way because I'm not going to be a critic anymore if I don't know what it's like to be in that spot."
It's humbling. I'm telling you. I go through this with parents during the season. They're always something to complain about, and
Oh,
referee wise or even the coach wise. And I say, you know what? Uh, we need volunteers. If you're that good of a referee, we can get you the training and we can get you certified within a year. And next season you can be out here refereeing, not your own kid's game, but you can
right.
be out here refereeing and making $55 a game.
Indeed. What? Indeed.
It
What?
usually it usually shuts them up for a little while.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, like one of the things that we really pride ourselves in the Pioneer League is that like everybody, exec board all the way down to our general managers. Each team has a general manager. Whatever needs to be done, they're really good about just getting it done. There's nothing like that's beneath them. There's nothing that they're not willing to do, even if it's for like another program, which is one of the great things. We have
Right.
programs that help other programs. So, we do recruit teams and we do want teams to come to the Pioneer Football League. And whether you're in New Jersey, New York, we're also looking to expand in Long Island, in terms of filling in some of the teams in the areas of like Nassau and Suffolk County. But what
Right.
we say to all the teams that, and we have a fair amount of teams that put in the phone call, especially around February and March. And the first thing that they say is, how do I
Oh,
get in?
oh yeah.
And I tell them, hey, look, the Pioneer League's not for everybody. We have very,
Right.
very high standards. And at the same time, like, understand that we have to be able to work with one another. So if you're one of those types that can't work with other people, or you think that you're coaching in the Super Bowl and that you can't be spoken to, or you can't
Right.
work with other people, and you're not about
Right. Keep it in profession.
yeah, we're
Right.
we're about having fun for the. To tell you the truth, we're the most fun when it comes to these kids that I've ever seen. I mean, we have a live stream. We'll actually live stream games on our website.
Uh-huh.
We'll actually have a camera on the field. So sometimes you'll see one of our trustees in the actual huddle interviewing players while the game is going on. And what that dictates is that, hey, look, it's not about winning or losing. It's about having as much fun as possible with these kids. And some of the kids, especially the younger groups, they don't even realize if they're winning or losing, but they do remember when Matt the
They got
Fridge
televised
Otero,
that they were on, right?
when the commentator interviewed them, right after they scored
Yep.
a touchdown, even if it was the one touchdown in a 30-6 game or what have you, they have those moments that they remember. So it's so funny. Again, it's about the overall product, and we take as many pictures as possible. We put as much video together as possible. We have our weekly sports center, which is broadcast both on Facebook and on our site. Um,
Yep.
we're heavy in terms of television. All television opportunities we take. We've been on network TV. We've been on local access TV, and the reason being is because we want to push the product as much as possible. And it's so funny. Like one of the games last year, I was taking pictures, and you'll see me with my Canon, my trusty Canon, and I'll take with the executive board as good as it is now, I can kind of relax and take pictures and not really get involved in the day-to-day
Right.
operations of things. So I was taking pictures of one of the games, and one of the parents is so funny comes up to me and is like, if I ran this league, I would do so many things different. So I'm like, oh, really? So he's like, yeah. The uniforms look cool, but they need to be a little different. And he was saying all these things. So I'm sitting there just kind of like nodding and what have you. So he goes, oh, do you sell pictures and such? And I'm like, no, I don't sell them. I give them to the league for for free. They're on the league Facebook page. So he goes, oh, really, really? So you're affiliated with the league? And I'm like, yeah, you can say that. He goes,
Yeah.
well,
Well,
what do you do for the league? And I go, I own it. And he's like, oh. So to him, I was just the guy with the camera, and that's the way I prefer it. To tell you the truth, again, let's roll up the sleeves, and you know,
right.
it's so funny. Like one of our actually a couple of our programs went down to Virginia Beach for Thanksgiving weekend, and I went down there and fully fledged to be on vacation, and the Bronx Bears and Bronx Steelers did an awesome, amazing job down there. And whenever there was a time where, hey, look, a kid needed a mouthpiece, or you need a little help with this, or getting the kids to get it, yeah, not a problem. We roll up my sleeves, and the kids know who I am, and I hope that
Right.
I'm as approachable as possible for the kids. Not so much for the parents, because I get those conversations with
Right.
the parents about the officials and the referees. But as long as the kids find me approachable, I'm good with that.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing is that they know who you are. Now you're able to, like you said, relax a little bit, be yourself. Don't have to be so, uh, you know, intense. Maybe you can relax a little bit, be yourself, and get involved at a different level now, and really have some fun. Getting your face in there and promoting that product because again, I found you on Facebook and I started following and I immediately was hooked because of the product and the promotion of the product because down here in Florida, I'm not sure how much you follow it. There's promotion,
Hmm.
but a lot of it is not positive. I've gotten kicked off of websites because of some of these people and the inappropriate audio that they want to use
Right.
with 8-year old football videos.
Right,
They're
and
unnecessary.
at the end of the day, it's not about the kids. At that particular point about the adults. And the quote if you go to any game, whenever I mean, we have our fair share of issues, but we deal with them in a
Sure.
professional, transparent manner. And so sometimes
Right.
I just have to look at people and say, the worst thing about youth football is the adults. It true
Yeah.
it truly
No, my,
is.
my it is. My buddy who
So.
came on from the first tee of Ocala said the same thing. He said that the biggest destruction of youth sports today is the parents,
Indeed,
youth
indeed.
sports parents.
And
Um,
ultimately, that media, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because the media end is you'd be surprised, you'd be really shocked as to how important the media end is, and you'd be even more shocked to see how many owners of teams and leagues just kind of let it fall by the wayside. Like we have leagues.
like it's no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, we have leagues that haven't updated a website in 3 4 years. That still have the old teams up there and stuff like that. And ultimately, again, when I get that phone call from the other teams or what have you, the first thing is, hey, look, I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to work hard and I'm going to hustle more than anybody else. There's no real secret sauce to the Pioneer Football League. It's just everybody rolling up their sleeves and putting in the work,
Going to work.
and that's
Right.
ultimately how it leads. And I tell people flat out, like, if you don't have a website that updates at least weekly, I mean, we have updates almost like in season, we're updated at least 3 4 times a week. Sometimes like during the playoff runs and
Right.
such, every day. We have, because we understand that kids absolutely love that. Like, this is their version of the NFL. So to have like
Yep.
the updated playoff predictions or whatever, the playoff standings, and if this team wins or if this team doesn't, this stuff like that is really exciting for these kids. And if you don't have stuff like that, then ultimately it goes back to your championship or bust. And for us, one of the prides of what we do is that whether you're the first place team or the last place team, you're a valued member of the Pioneer Football League.
Right. Like you
We'll
said,
yeah.
we've got a place for you somewhere. We'll
Yeah,
find you.
we'll promote you whether you won every game or lost every game. We're gonna promote you just the same, because ultimately with the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars are who the Jacksonville Jaguars are. However, they are
That's it.
still an NFL team. So,
Team.
um,
That's right. And the respect is due.
indeed, indeed. So
Now,
it's so funny,
it's refreshing because I tell people this a lot of the times, especially down here, because people get so carried away with 33-0 and
right.
4 seasons undefeated. And I said, Coach, I have one question, and I won't ask you any more questions. If you can answer it truly and honestly, I'll leave you alone. I said, would you make a shirt and buy a ring for your team members if you were 0-33? Well, hell no. Excuse my language. And I said, well, what are you talking about, Coach? Pride does not know anything about winning. Pride has everything to do with about who you are and what you're selling. It has nothing to do with winning or losing.
Right.
That's just the bonus of what you're doing. That tells people and should show and get you earned respect, because if you go out and win 3 championships and maybe not make any T-shirts, people will start saying, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the rings and all that, but sometimes an 8-year-old, 7-year-old with a championship ring
Yeah.
seems just like a novelty to me. You know what I mean? I'm all for the championship trophy and giving them their accolades and certificates of appreciation and all that stuff. Definitely, I'm not saying at all we're not promoting them, and we're not gonna make them shine in their moment. But what I'm saying is that we just need to have some more directed positive influence and not be so focused on winning all the time.
Right.
Because, again, I won't ask my
It's
coaches
so, yeah,
when I
it's
recruit them.
so results based, as opposed to you got to take pride in the process. So if you take pride in the fact that, hey, look, we went through, regardless of I mean, even with the winning end of it, I mean, I have my
Right.
fair share of championship rings, and for each one of them, I take pride in the fact that we went through the process. It wasn't about the
Right.
result. It was the fact that we, through each week, we bowed through the process. And if you're 33-0 and doing all that, it's a little bit too easy, and you haven't really mastered the process. You've mastered, being in love with the result, and teach
And
his own.
that's the thing. Yeah, that's more ego driven than it is
Yes,
result driven. And that's the
indeed.
problem that I have with a lot of the coaches down here in South Florida. Like I said, I don't know how much you follow it. Pop Warner down here is probably one of the most in many ways highly watched and highly developed youth Pop Warner leagues across the nation. In
Well,
fact, I don't know if you've
I
heard.
mean, it's funny that you say that, because again, at the NFL Youth Conference last year, one of the things that turned a whole bunch of heads is when I was sitting in the room with, I think it was the Northeast region or what have you, and everybody was standing up and introducing themselves. I'm from so and so division or conference of Pop Warner, of AYF or United, or I mean those are the big three. I mean
Yeah,
everybody has some type of
the big three.
affiliation. So when I was the only one in the whole entire room that stood up and said, "Hey, my name is David Patterson. I'm from the Pioneer Football League. I'm an independently owned and operated league." And everybody in the room, like their jaws dropped, and they were like,
Exactly.
they're squinting at me like, what do you mean you're independently owned and no, like, are you AYF? Are you United? Are you Pop One? I'm like, no, I'm not any of
No,
those. And the reason why I'm not any of those is not because they're not beneficial, but I have at this particular point no desire to pay anybody for something that I can do myself. And ultimately, I just don't get the affiliation. If you're getting something out of it, if you're getting something for your money, then go ahead and do that.
right.
But ultimately, the promotion of being any of those umbrellas is not nearly what it used to be. Like a parent's not gonna not go to your product because, oh, that's not a AYF product, oh,
Pop
that's
Warner
not a
or whatever. Yeah.
Pop Warner product. They're gonna see you for a quality product, and ultimately, I have teams in my division that I have teams in my league that the parents in one team will pay in taxes in a year what parents on another team make in a year. So if you have if you have that type of drastic difference, you're telling me that there's one umbrella that can service both of those teams? Eh,
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no possible way. So therefore, you're going to be driven to one of those one of those umbrellas that either service one team or the other, and both of them are in my league, so I need to service both of them. So the answer would be I go with what makes most
Mm,
sense for my organization. So we'll play a AYF tournament or what have you. If we get an invite from
right.
a Pop Warner team, we'll play. But oftentimes, like those are so restrictive in who they play,
Right.
and it's not even. Again, you talk about the adults being the worst part of it. It's not that the kids don't want to play. It's not even that the coaches don't even want
It
to play.
does.
It's
Yeah.
not even. Yeah,
Exactly.
but these umbrellas have this these rules like, oh, you can't play that team because they're not us, type of thing, as
Affiliated,
opposed to
or their weight structure doesn't meet our weight structure, and
right.
that's ultimately what happens. Because down here we have, there's probably four major youth football alliances or organizations, what you want to call. And I was just informed the day before yesterday that Snoop Dogg has brought his league to South Florida
Oh.
to compete with Flow Riders. Now, it's out of control down here. I mean, we spoke about that a little bit when we met down here a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not sure you get that up there. From what I gather from you, you don't really have that same. Now, I love the fact, like you said, that for your product you don't need all these politics and all these rules. You're going to develop that along the way, because ultimately these are organizations that are competitive, where you have a different concept, and some of the stuff like we're doing, it has a different concept than just being competitive, just being academic.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
we play anybody, but ultimately, what we're looking for is like-minded organizations that are just about having fun and doing good things for for these kids. If it turns into we do have teams in our league that do compete on national level or regionals level or what have you, but that's because they choose to do that or what have you. But
right.
ultimately, for me to get hooked on or pay somebody to say, well, you know because we're affiliated with them, then we'll go to nationals, not really my thing. And to tell you the truth, national
Right.
championships are, yeah, I mean, it's you're not playing anybody in the nation anyway. So ultimately, it's about who, for me, I mean, it may be going back to my college days. I'm about who throws the best party. So I'm not going to be obligated to go to that party. I'm going to go to whoever throws the best party. So Ralph and the guys down in Virginia Beach threw a pretty good party this year. We went with them this year, what have you. The year before, we were in Charlotte, North Carolina. Like we may do something in upstate New York. We may do something in West Virginia because ultimately, for our kids, it's the best situation to take them and play places that we ordinarily don't get to play. We'll play the Atlantic Coast Youth Football League. We actually had, and again, I don't know many programs. I don't know any programs up here that do it where their in-season travel is actually pretty impressive. Like the end of the year, the teams that are going to Florida, the teams that are economically ahead of everybody else, that are
Right.
athletically and recruitment wise ahead of everybody else. So ultimately, the paying into these big chartered, umbrellas is just, for most of them, a donation for a couple of kids to go down to Florida. That's essentially what it is.
Right. No,
Myself
you're right.
and our structure is like, even on our league structure, we're not about giving the spoils to the victor. The spoil to the victor is the trophy. You get the trophy.
Right. Exactly.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
However,
That's it.
we're not going to send you somewhere as the championship team. We're going to send as many kids as possible. So we're more apt to do a all-star game where we'll get kids from different programs to be able to participate and take that positive Pioneer League experience back to their respective teams. That to us is more beneficial on the league level than to say, "Oh, our champ beat this champ," by sending that doesn't really do much for us. So, like I said, we've
To me, I talk about it a lot down here. It's just these coaches and their egos, and I'm tired of it.
right.
That's kind of a fuel for what I'm doing now, because there's another organization that does their own radio show that just promotes, their organization and does, I have not seen much positive. Yeah, okay, I see that they do trophies and they do this and they do that, but ultimately, again, when you're putting these lyrical content in this thug mentality behind your product, uh, not everybody's going to buy into it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Indeed.
I really don't get the mentality behind it, but the word down here, for most of these is that even Pop Warner, the gambling in the stands on these football games is out of control.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know if you have a problem with that up there, but a couple years ago down here, they arrested the president of an organization who was running an illegal gambling facility out of the back of his barber shop in Fort Lauderdale that had recorded bets in excess of $100,000 on
On youth football
eight-year-old
games.
football
Indeed,
games.
I saw the 60 Minutes report, and I mean,
Unbelievable.
for us, I don't think we would ever run into anything close to that. Um, I I don't think so, and the reason being is because like we're so transparent, and we swing the sword, like we're so about our rules, like, and when it comes down to it, like even our commissioner, all the way down to our president, vice president, everybody in our structure is about the rules and dedicated to the rules. So we're so based in that like we don't let little stuff go, let alone to the point of getting that. So when something
Right.
gets to that point, it's because there's a bunch of failures on the lower levels when it comes to basic processes and basic levels, elements of following the rules.
Yeah, well, it's obvious, that in these some of these other organizations, they get their and who they get their money from, and and I've heard from a lot of the other coaches that they see exactly where of the majority of that money goes, and it's usually directed to a couple of the favorite teams
Right,
of
and
the
I'm
organization or
I'm glad
whatever.
that I'm
And
glad you
again, why
I'm
do you want to go into something like that?
right. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I mean, I've dealt with very similar things, especially when it came to our New York Jets sponsorship. It's so funny that again part of the door was opened because of one of our owners. Again, Corinne McFarland does a great job with
Right.
My Healthy Community. Opened the door, gave us an opportunity to speak with the Jets, and it was because of that we were able to get our foot in the door. What grew the relationship across the board was the transparency end. And the first thing that I said to the Jets when I got on the phone with them after making the initial connection was, I do not want any money. please do not send me money. And the because first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to be accused of stealing money, even if I have receipts for everything. People
Right.
just have an immediate distrust for people in organizations and money. So
Yep.
the what we agreed on is what I told them. I said I don't want money. Do not don't give me any cash or what have you. All I need you to do is I'm going to give you a list of the things that we need.
Right.
I prefer you to deliver it yourself. If you need me to deliver it, I will deliver it. And everything that we were given by the New York Jets is recorded on our website under the Jets
Right.
Connection tab. And actually, we have an app as well. If you go to the app, you can see the Jets Connection app, and you'll see exactly what was given to the Pioneer Football League. And you'll see its helmets, its shoulder pads, our uniforms, which are really neat, which are on our website as well. Um, the Chase Bank logo is on it and what have you, and our league
Yeah.
logo is on it and such. Um, Again, all of that is financially clean for me because the money never comes across and touches my hands, so to speak, what have you. So from there, I just
Right.
said that this is a lot, and the reason being is because they've had in terms of the National Football League in general and youth football in general, a lot of issues with donated items being either sold to teams and kids or
Right.
not being given to the teams and the kids. And ultimately, I was definitely doing my best to avoid those conversations altogether. So we put it directly in the kids' hands. We got bags for the kids, T-shirts, and what have you, and everything's accounted for. Like it's so funny. Like the delivery comes to me, and then when it's given out to the respective teams, and every single team in the Pioneer Football League has gotten something, and that's unique in that I've heard of leagues that only the owner of the league is also owner of a team, and that's a dynamic that
Right.
I have shied away from. The only ownership that I have
Right.
on a team level is teams that are not in the Pioneer Football League, that are Pioneer League affiliates, that are going against teams that are not Pioneer League affiliates. But
Yeah. Right.
yeah, but I never understood the whole I own the league, but I also own the team thing because there's no possible way that there could be equitable distribution of the acquired resources that would make any sense because ultimately the league is possible because of our teams. And again, I've been blessed to have really hardworking people in the respective teams that we have. So like the Bronx Yellow Jackets, which is a high school age team, or what have you. Their owner, Coach E, is a dynamic guy who hustles his butt off, and literally he runs his program like feet to the street. He'll be doing whatever it is that he needs to do in order to get his program off the ground. Though those guys are the guys that I have to rely on because ultimately, again, when you talk about that 33-0 team, well,
Right.
if you go through a Pioneer League schedule, you feel as though you accomplished something at the end of the day. And when whatever it is that you finished in terms of placement or what have you, it's a schedule that it's competitive. So once you get through it, you have this real sense of accomplishment. So the owners in this thing again produce this product or produce their products which reflect on the league. So I would be absolutely remiss to not include everybody on something that comes in and is donated to the league, which is why as soon as we were told that we were having this particular sponsorship or what have you, the idea was to have jerseys because the first thing that a player, for better or for worse, and usually it's for worse, tries to figure out in terms of what team to play on. And keep in mind, I mean, Florida's a little bit different. Here, like we have a couple of teams that are in the Bronx that are in the relatively same neighborhoods, and we have teams that are
Right.
in other leagues that are in these neighborhoods as well. The first thing that these kids are worried about is their uniform and what their uniform looks like. Well, in the Pioneer League, everybody has the same uniform, the same manufacturer. They're all
Right.
sublimated, top notch, top quality uniforms from head to toe. But you're not going to go from one Pioneer program to another and say, oh, it's because they have better uniforms. not going to happen.
Right.
So like those type of things is stuff that we really want to knock out and make sure that all of our organizations are on a fair playing level and recruitment level and are just as competitive on in that respect to be able to field quality products.
Yeah, I can tell you that it's getting crazy down here because every year it's like competition.
Yes,
It gets crazier and
it's
crazier with
the
the
jersey
uniforms.
competition. I can have firecrackers that shoot out the backside of this particular
Exactly.
jersey, and ultimately
Smoke shooting out.
yeah, and that's why ultimately we took care of the uniforms in order to focus on the football end of it. And again, because once the allure of having the uniforms that make your eyes cross in your head and give you sensitive reactions to light after that novelty is over, it gets back to whether they're teaching the game of football and
Football
teaching life
101,
lessons to these
right?
kids.
Exactly.
Indeed.
On that note, let's take another quick break, and we'll come back and we'll finish up our last 15 minutes talking with positive impact hero number 7, David Patterson from the Pioneer Football League in New York City, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Positive impact hero number 7, David Patterson tonight, owner of the Pioneer Football League. Youth football and amateur football. So we're talking 5 to 18, and then we're also talking 18 on up. But he's given us some great insight to the program that he's running up there, and it's a great organization. And we're gonna get into we're gonna conclude the show here a little bit, wrap up the session with David, and talk about. A little bit more, give him the opportunity to give him a shout out to his board of directors that have recently been voted in, and then we'll get on to David Patterson's impact heroes that make him who he is.
Awesome. Well, right now, what are we working on? We're working on. We have one product that just started up yesterday. Actually, they had their first day of practice, called the New York Patriots. The Patriots are a 18 to 24 product. That's our newest collegiate development product that transitions guys from our high school programs into our either semi-pro products or minor league products or college. So we really are excited about this particular product because we have done the same product before in the Bronx Colts, and essentially what occurred was our Bronx Colts, which were our 18 to 24 guys, they got to be so competitive, and we've had to kind of move them up in the to a more competitive situation and a more dynamic situation to fit their needs. And the Patriots have kind of replaced them in our family structure or what have you. We also get a chance to document exactly how we do this particular type of product. So we have our own reality show called Battle Ready, which will document the start of this particular program and document all the way through to what will hopefully be the next championship product. Um, so we're really excited about that. So we're still taking on players for the Patriots and still interviewing possible people to do like more in-depth stories on like our players that are looking to go into college. So you'll actually be able to see them from day one all the way through to college campus or what have you. So again, we kind of like McDonald's, we've kind of franchised this thing so that we've mastered the process again on how to get these things done. So that's really exciting. The Bronx Colts, they have their meeting this upcoming Saturday, their interest meeting, and they are going to be playing in the MLF, which is called Major League Football. It's a very competitive league up here. There's teams from Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania in this particular program, whereas the Patriots play all teams that are in the New York City area. So the Colts are kind of spreading out a little bit more. The Colts are actually 6-time defending champions. They've were 4-time Pioneer Football champions, and then for the last 2 years they've been in the Triborough Football League, which is where the Patriots are now. Kind of switched them out or what have you. So they've gone through the last 2 seasons doing the transition from basically junior pro 21 and under to being very successful on a minor league, what you guys would refer to as like a double A level.
Okay.
So the Colts they'll get started in like April or May, like late April, early May, and it's an absolute great product. Two of my former guys, you talk about my positive impact heroes, Sean Kellman and Charles Hutchinson, two of my former players who have created again the replication of these awesome products, and I'm able to kind of attach myself to the thing and give a little bit of guidance to it, but ultimately the success of the Colts has been because of those two guys, and I've been blessed enough for them to be able to, since they're competing in other leagues now, to be able to hop on and lend my coaching expertise every now and again, help them out on the general management level, what have you, to make sure that they're operating on all cylinders. So those are the two products that we have going now. The other one is the New York Bandits, and again, my positive impact hero that I spoke about before was Billy Batson, the owner of the New York Bandits. The New York Bandits are a minor league football team, a semi-pro team that has been in operation for 21 years. One of the
Wow.
longest running minor league teams in the nation, under same name, continuous management, no breakups or stopping of play or what have you, continuously for the last 21 years. So I usually in or around their practices still, again, as a member of the family, so to speak. I'll roll my sleeves up and coach there during the summer as well, because I'm always learning in this thing, and the best way for me to guide and help out the youth coaches is to be under the tutelage of guys that really know what they're doing. So Coach Tito, Luis Perez from the New York Bandits, expert at defensive scheming and such, and that's where I've learned my skills as a defensive coach. And Billy Batson. We also have Coach Dino over there, another positive impact hero, a guy that is very knowledgeable about the passing game, even though he doesn't like to run the ball ever. He likes to throw the ball around all the time, which, as a defensive guy, you can imagine how that makes me so very happy.
I was
So
going to say that's you're jumping up and down, going, "Bring it, let's go."
indeed. So those are
He
the
sounds like a candidate for the show. I mean, you're probably going to have to give me his information, and we'll get that organization on the show. 21 years of solid, consistent product is
in,
definitely overqualified for this show, but definitely somebody I would like to bring out
indeed.
into the light.
Indeed, we actually the Bandits have played in Florida. They've played multiple times in Florida, actually. Puerto Rico, so many different states. Like it's a very well traveled team, a very structured, organized team, and again, another guy in that structure that really makes this thing work. And again, this is how tight knit the family is. That the general manager of the New York Bandits, a guy by the name of Earl Thomas. Earl is a trustee in the Pioneer Football League, and he's one of our guys as like a heavy hitter. Like if we need something done or we need a connection to be made, we'll put Earl on the case, and just like the guy from he's not the guy that plays football for the Seattle Seahawks. He's our Earl Thomas, and he's a really great guy, really awesome individual that does a lot of great work. And again, it's that New York Bandit connection.
And those are priceless. Those are the things that there is no paycheck that can describe. There's no feeling that can describe it. It's those moments, like you said, we talked about it a little bit earlier, that brotherhood. We
Indeed.
talk about that brotherhood that we all come and share at some point along the way, whether it's a teammate or a connection with a friend. It doesn't always have to be a family member, because it takes many other people in life to get you through other than just family.
Indeed.
And these are the relationships and the acquaintances that we cherish the most as positive impact heroes ourselves. We thrive on other people that make us who we are. I try to explain that every week. We wouldn't be who we are if it wasn't for somebody that motivated us, that gave us that drive to want to make a difference in
Indeed,
somebody's life.
and the beautiful thing I'm glad you said is because in all of our organizations we have at least one, but usually multiple people that kind of make it work. And if I may, like I'll just kind of run down our,
Yeah, go
our
ahead.
list
Got
here.
plenty of time.
So we have the Bronx Bears coach Jonathan, really good-hearted guy, passionate guy, dedicated guy, and Miss Ebony. Miss Ebony is their general manager, and as a like this was their second year in existence. They're a fledgling program, just starting out or what have you, and two people that just got to work on this thing and really kind of picked it up and ran with it and are really developing. They're going to be running one of the top quality products in the area really soon. The Bronx Buccaneers, great organization. Coach O'Neill and Miss Tasha, two people that are absolutely amazing people in creating a really solid quality product, all about integrity. They're about the rules, which is a definite positive for for me because it's so easy to work with people that kind of speak the same language on that. We have the Bronx Colts, Coach Free and Miss Goya. They're one of our original members, and again, even what I absolutely love about them, you talk about sacrifice. Even if it's not the best situation for the Colts, like they'll sacrifice for the good of the league time and time again, and they understand that eventually it'll pay back or what have you. But what they've put on the line and their connections, that a Bronx Colt connection has turned into a connection for the other teams in our league based on the word of Coach Free and based on the hard work of Miss Goya. Marta Latimer is her real name, but everybody calls her Goya. The Bronx Panthers, another great program. Coach Barry, good-hearted soul, a guy that again will take his shoestring out and put it through some shoulder pads to get the kids on the field. Coach Sean from the Bronx Steelers. He has a really good program, and his program, the Bronx Steelers, actually has made the Panthers and also the Bronx Bears, and next year they'll be doing the Bronx Vikings as well. Um, and his
All right.
expansion, because we talk about a positive impact guy, he's always looking to expand, always looking to recruit, and it's kind of like my job to say, all right, Sean, we're good here. Okay, you can expand here. Let's kind of slow it down here because he wants to have a team on every block because he feels as though he for him, it's about getting as many kids as involved as possible, and that's how he measures his wins and losses. Is how many kids he
Right.
can sign up to play football, and that's why ultimately he is a real benefit to the league. Across the board. The Yellow Jackets, I mentioned Coach E, a guy that has, I mean, the kids that are in the Yellow Jackets have been with him for years and years. They're a hard nosed, well coached group. And his main concern is about taking kids off the street. He's always talking about, hey, look, like he'll have practice like around his work schedule. I don't even know how he does it. He'll practice like 10 days a week because he wants to keep these kids off the street, which is absolutely awesome. Coney Island Sharks, we have Coach Ellis, great guy again who will sacrifice. He'll run around here and there to try to get the kids, suited up and ready to play. The Sharks got themselves like real acclimated to the Pioneer League processes this year. The Harlem Jets, Coach Mel, has again turnkeyed so many coaches that have gone on to coach at Cardinal Hayes and a number of other high schools. The connections that he has made, Coach Ali, who doesn't even coach there anymore, but he's one of those big time guys in that program, all the way down. Like they have so many coaches over there. It's just I hate leaving any of them out, but a top notch quality football program, which is why they're always mentioned in the national national rankings in terms of who they are and what they bring to the table. We actually have a team in Long Island that plays out of Walt Whitman High School named the Long Island Spartans. Their coach, Coach Gerald, and their GM, well, Miss Melissa, they run an excellent program. Coach Gerald actually used to he played at Penn State. He was a linebacker at Penn State and
Oh, wow.
actually played for the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. And he
Right.
runs an amazing, amazing program. He was champions. His team won championships on 3 age levels last year. 2 3 years ago they struggled to win a single game, and just plugged at it, worked, and again, a guy that doesn't make excuses. He just gets it done, and works with
Goes
those
to work.
kids in such an amazing way. The Green Wave, I told you about, Coach Karim, Coach
Yeah.
Zakoma as well. Real dedicated guys. Like every single day they're into the sports that they have these kids involved in. They'll do golf with the kids, they'll do tennis, they'll do track, like anything
Awesome.
that'll keep the childhood obesity epidemic from taking hold. They're on board with. New York City Lions, Coach Kavanaugh, Coach Jamel. Again, they're working in an area literally directly next door to the projects. They're knocking on doors, trying to get as many kids to play as possible. Coach Kavanaugh just
Awesome.
had a baby, so he's taken away from new
Oh
marriage,
yeah.
new baby things to make sure that the team is situated. We have another great story in the Staten Island Bandits. The Staten Island Bandits, they have two brothers that Coach Lee, Michael Dobson, and his brother, they together own the Staten Island Bandits, and the two of them actually have a degenerative eye condition. They're both
Oh wow.
handicapped, and they run the whole entire team handicapped.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
they've made connections with their local cable access. They're really big into the video end of it, or what have you. And they have a bunch of great parents that really help them operate that program. So those are like the league members, and we also have affiliates. I can't even forget Coach Hugh of the Brooklyn Pharaohs, the Brooklyn Bobcats. We have a lady by the name of Mama Bobcat. Her and Coach Tony. I mean, Mama Bobcat. She's a Giants fan, which
Nice.
nobody's perfect, but Mama Bobcat. She dyes her hair the color of the team and is out there giving these guys whatever they need, water and support, and she's just an absolute uh, you know uh, somebody who is just so into the game and such an ambassador for the game. It's absolutely awesome. So that kind of like runs down everybody. We also, again, the New York Patriots, Matt Otero. We have the original trustees, Matt Otero, Shamel Jackson, and Jay Carter. Those are like the three young guys that got started in the broadcasting end of what we do in the media end, and their work has really made the league what it is today. And I definitely would have to mention them above and beyond everybody else.
That's awesome. That's quite a list, and we remind everybody every week about the amount of volunteers it takes to get a great product like you have to get it done. It cannot be done solo. It cannot be done with two or three people. It takes an immense amount of quality, dedicated volunteers to get this message across.
Absolutely.
When I brought Rich on, we really tried to give a perspective, from his standpoint as the president, of what it takes. I didn't really want to go into that with you because, we already done that, but you have an interesting story about, the whole process and the message and where you're going. And let's talk on that for a few minutes. We got about 5 minutes left. The future. Where's the future of Pioneer? Where does David Patterson see the future of the Pioneer League? Let's say in 5 years.
That's a good question. I mean, if you asked me 5 years ago, would we be in this position? I would probably say it's possible, but ultimately, what puts us in a really good position now is that I don't control the path of the Pioneer Football League. It's in the hands of a very capable executive board. As I mentioned, Coach Rick, we actually just hired on our commissioner, Miss Dawn Matos Harper. She's the new commissioner, so she has a hand in the future of the program or the direction of the program. Coach Rick has definitely put his stamp on this. We just hired on a new vice president, Sean Kelman, who coaches you'll hear these names reoccurring because again we're all about rolling up the sleeves. So Sean Kelman's our vice president. Our chief financial officer is Sean Godbolt. He does an amazing job fundraising. Our league secretary, Miss Lakeisha, our general manager, Miss Tasha Andrews. We have a really solid director of officials, John Santiago, one of the best that in the region to do it. Our players union. Ultimately, when we have a situation where somebody wants to donate time and be one of those high impact heroes, they I have the conversation basically goes like this. The first thing is, if we have a vacancy that you feel as though you can fill, then let's fill it and let's move on it. If there is no vacancy, let's make one, and let's figure out what you bring to the table so that we can craft your position based on what you do. So ultimately, our board of directors can expand. As we expand in different areas, I see us being able to replicate our product and have subsidiaries that include the state of New Jersey, Long Island as its own separate division, and possibly Connecticut or Westchester County being its own separate division as well. So ultimately, I'd say 5 years, even 10 years, it's about replicating the Pioneer process over and over again. So although we don't want to be a Pop Warner or a AYF, I think that the idea behind the Pioneer League, the bylaws, the standards, and our ease of replication, and just the testimonials of the teams, this being the best place for them, is what ultimately is going to lead to responsible expansion and franchising in other areas.
Awesome. I couldn't agree I couldn't agree more with you because what you're selling is great. It reminds me of a conversation I have a lot. I do. I'm an audio engineer, mix, and people look at you all the time when you're in front of these big boards, 64 channels, whatever, and they go, "Oh my God, it's so difficult." And no, it's basically you do one thing well and repeat it 64 times.
Yep, that's basically it.
There's just a little bit of tweaking in between there, but it's the same premise. Like you said, if you set one up in Jersey, would it be exactly as what it is in New York? No. But the premise of it would be there. You would just have little tweaks in there because of its demographic location is going to be different. Everywhere is going to be different than the Bronx.
And the benefit is our bylaws and our structure is able to be customized based on region. So we could open up a Pioneer League Florida or South Florida, or we could open it up
Right.
wherever, because ultimately what attracts us to so many teams is we are cost efficient, we are in tune with what our organizations need. So when it comes down to it, like all of our rules, all of our bylaws are voted on by the teams. So
Right.
ultimately, like there are very few structures where the teams have an equal distribution of power. There's usually some type of power grab, which is the reason why a lot of leagues have their issues or what have you, and that teams move from
Right.
here to there or what have you. With us, we're on the same page as our teams. We say, hey, look, here's your opportunity to get involved here in the process, and here's your opportunity to offer to the rules. So if you do not offer to the rules, then you agree that this is the way we're going to do things. If
Right.
you're not happy with the result of the debate and the discourse that goes on during our bylaws meeting, then you're free to go wherever it is that you feel to go. But there's not going to be a point where you're going to say during the season or after we started that, hey, I didn't agree to this, or this is not what we agreed on.
Right.
So, ultimately, again, you talk about control, like there are certain situations where there'll be a rule in play and I don't agree. As the owner of the league, I don't agree with the result of
Right.
the enforcement of the rule. However, the rule has to be enforced. And the reason being is because if we choose which rules we're going to enforce, then teams are going to choose which rules they're going to follow, and then you have
Exactly.
anarchy. So
You have what
ultimately,
we call the good old boy network.
exactly, that's exactly what it turns into. So I made a
It's
point of,
exactly what
yeah,
it is.
yeah, and I make a point of saying, hey, look, I don't agree with the result of this, but this is the way we have to move because the rules say so. And then when the season is over, during the bylaws meeting, hey, we had something happen and we didn't like the result. Let's change it now. But there'll never be the debate of whether do we follow the rules once we get started. Once the train, leaves the station, we deal with
That's
it,
it.
and then on the next time around, that's when we fix our mistakes, and that's is worked very good for us because I don't have the debates of, well, why weren't the rules enforced, and everything is in writing, and it's so very easy to follow. Granted, we do have our fair share of issues. Let me make sure that I
Well,
say
we all do.
we
Nobody's perfect. Let's
yeah,
make that
but
clear. Nobody is
yeah.
perfect.
But the fact that it's
But
written makes it so much less personal. It's not personal. Like, this is what's in writing. This is what we're
right.
gonna go by, and that's ultimately it.
Well, David, that's we have about a minute and a half left. As you will see, 2 hours goes by real quick.
Indeed.
I mean, real quick. I will definitely have you on the show again later because we got so much more to discuss and talk, and you're going to expand. So we will definitely see you on the show in the future, and maybe next time we'll get one of those coaches on with you, and we'll highlight him and talk some more Pioneer football in the future. Positive Impact Hero number 7, David Patterson from the Pioneer Football League. Sir, applause. I mean,